Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections, coin lovers and history seekers. If you've ever held a quarter in your hand and thought, it's just 25 cents, you might want to think again. Because today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins ever minted in the United States, the Washington Quarter Dollar from 1776 to 1976. This isn't just any coin. It's a piece of America's 200th birthday celebration, a slice of patriotic pride, and for some lucky collectors out there, it could mean a life-changing amount of money. Stick with me, because you won't believe how much this quarter could be worth today. First, let's rewind time. The United States celebrated its bicentennial in 1976. 200 years of independence, progress, and perseverance. To mark that historic occasion, the U.S. Mint released special edition coins with unique designs, and the Washington Quarter was one of the highlights. Instead of the usual reverse design featuring an eagle, the 1776 to 1976 quarter was given a completely new look. The front, or obverse, still shows the familiar face of George Washington, but the back. That's where the magic happens. Engraved by Jack L. Ahr, the reverse side of the coin features a colonial drummer, standing proudly with a torch of victory surrounded by 13 stars, each star representing one of the original colonies that declared independence in 1776. It's not just a coin. It's a celebration in your palm. Now, here's where things get interesting. While millions of these bicentennial quarters were minted and circulated across the country, not all of them are created equal. Most of the coins you'll find today have seen better days. They've been in pockets, purses, vending machines, and drawers for decades. But, if you happen to have one in near-perfect condition, or better yet, one with a rare minting error, you're holding something very, very special. Let's talk about the types that collectors go crazy for. There are three main types of 1776 to 1976 quarters: the regular clad version struck for circulation, the special collector's edition that was minted in 40% silver, and the elusive proof coins. Then there are the errors, the holy grail for coin enthusiasts. Double strikes, off-center prints, and wrong planchet errors have been known to exist, and their value skyrockets depending on how rare and visible the flaw is. Even without an error, a quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars from collectors looking to complete their sets with the cleanest coin they can find. But let's go further. Imagine finding a coin that has it all: flawless condition, a rare minting variation, and historical appeal tied directly to America's 200th birthday. That's the kind of quarter that doesn't just live in collections, it lives in auctions, and at one of those auctions, a 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter in exceptional condition, with the right silver composition and an extremely rare error, didn't just sell for a few $1,000s. It sold for $153,000, yes. A quarter. Worth $153,000, think about that. Something so small. Something you could have picked up in change or found in a coin jar, with a value that could rival the price of a house, a luxury car, or a college education. So next time you see one of these Washington quarters marked 1776 to 1976, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Check its condition. Look for errors. It might just be the most valuable 25 cents you'll ever hold in your life. Today, we're diving into one of the most overlooked yet shockingly valuable coins in modern U.S. history, the 1983 Washington Quarter Dollar. It's easy to miss. It looks ordinary. It feels like just another coin you'd pull from your pocket. But under the surface, this quarter holds a secret that only the most dedicated collectors know. And today, we're unlocking that secret for you. Let's start with the basics. The Washington Quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, but the year 1983 was different. Why? Because it was a year marked by a combination of unusual economic circumstances, minting changes, and collector scarcity, all of which make the 1983 quarter incredibly special. Here's the backstory. In 1982 and 1983, the U.S. Mint decided not to produce mint sets for collectors. That's right, no official mint sets were released during those 2 years. This might sound like a small detail, but for coin collectors, it was a huge deal. Why? Because mint sets are usually how collectors get their hands on pristine, uncirculated coins. Without them, the only 1983 quarters available were those that went directly into circulation. That means they got scratched, dropped, and tossed around in pockets and vending machines for decades. Finding a 1983 quarter in near-perfect condition? That's like finding a needle in a haystack, but wait, it gets even more interesting. The quarters minted in 1983 also had a few quirks. Many were struck with slightly weaker pressure, leading to a less crisp design. Some coins even show off-center strikes or minor doubling, little errors that might seem like flaws, but to collectors, they're golden opportunities. These imperfections make them rare, and rarity drives value. Now, let's talk about what to look for. If you've got a 1983 quarter, first check the mint mark. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint in 1983 don't have a mint mark, while those from Denver will show a small D. Both versions can be valuable, but the real prize lies in the condition. If the coin still has sharp details, look closely at Washington's hair, the word Liberty, and the eagle on the reverse, it might be a high-grade specimen. Combine that with a clean, uncirculated surface and perhaps even a minting error, and you could be holding something far more valuable than 25 cents. You might even come across a coin struck on the wrong planchet or one that's missing part of its clad layer. These error coins are rare and can send collectors into bidding frenzies. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. One of these 1983 Washington quarters, in exceptional condition and with just the right characteristics, was once sold at auction for a price that might seem unbelievable. This wasn't just any quarter. It had been preserved in stunning, uncirculated condition, graded extremely high by professionals and considered one of the best-known examples in existence. That single quarter, minted in 1983 and worth only 25 cents at face value, sold for a jaw-dropping $67,000. Yes, you heard that right. $67,000. That's the kind of money that can change a life. All from a coin you might have once ignored, or worse, spent on a pack of gum.so. The next time you're sorting through your change, or digging through an old box of coins, keep your eyes peeled for a 1983 Washington quarter. Because what looks like spare change might just be a small fortune hiding in plain sight. Today, we're talking about a coin that seems ordinary, until it isn't. This is the story of the 1986 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that might look like your average 25 cents, but under the right conditions, it could be worth a whole lot more. So stick around, because this quarter could be the golden needle in the haystack you never knew you had. Let's rewind for a moment. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932, featuring the profile of George Washington on the front. But by the mid-1980s, the coin was going through subtle changes, not in design, but in how it was made and how collectors viewed it. In 1986, the U.S. Mint produced millions of quarters for everyday use. But here's the twist: not all quarters from that year are created equal. While most of them were destined for circulation and spent their lives riding around in pockets, parking meters, and laundromat machines, a few lucky coins survived in near-perfect condition. And a tiny handful were even struck with rare minting errors that collectors today will pay serious money to own. Let's break it down. There are two main versions of the 1986 quarter you might find, one struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, and another from the Denver Mint, which carries a small D on the right side of Washington's ponytail. Both are common, unless, of course, you find one that's nearly flawless or has something unusual about it. So, what exactly makes a 1986 quarter valuable? The biggest factor is condition. Coins that have never been circulated and show no signs of wear are known as uncirculated. Even better are coins graded as MS-65 or higher. These are considered top quality, collector-grade coins with sharp details, clean surfaces, and no distracting marks. Now, add a minting error into the mix, like a double strike, an off-center design, a clipped planchet, or missing elements from the coin's surface, and you've got something incredibly rare. Error coins like these are not only fascinating, but they're also some of the most valuable coins in the hobby. Why? Because they're one of a kind. Each mistake makes the coin unique, and uniqueness is pure gold in the world of numismatics. But here's the real kicker: very few people kept 1986 quarters in pristine condition. Why would they? It was just another year, another coin, nothing special at the time. That's what makes high-grade or era 1986 quarters so incredibly rare today. They were never expected to be valuable, so they weren't protected or collected, meaning the few that were preserved are now like tiny, unexpected time capsules. Let's imagine this. You're sorting through an old collection, maybe coins passed down from a relative or a stash you've kept in a jar since you were a kid. You pick up a 1986 quarter, and it looks different. Maybe the strike is a little off. Maybe the edges look sharper than normal. Maybe there's a minting quirk that catches your eye. That's the kind of coin collectors dream of. That's the kind of coin that has shown up at auctions, shocked experts, and made headlines in the numismatic world. And now for the part you've been waiting for. One such 1986 Washington quarter, preserved in stunning uncirculated condition and featuring a rare error, made its way into the spotlight. After being professionally graded and authenticated, it didn't just sell for a few hundred, or even a few $1,000s. It sold for $63,000, yes, that's right, $63,000 for a single quarter. So before you drop your next coin into a parking meter or leave it behind on a countertop, take a closer look. Because that little 1986 Washington quarter could be more than just pocket change, it could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Today, we're talking about a classic, the United States Washington quarter dollar from 1973. At first glance, the 1973 quarter looks like any other coin in your pocket. It's got the familiar profile of George Washington on the front, facing left with the word Liberty above his head and the motto, "In God We Trust," just below his chin. On the reverse, there's that proud and powerful American eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. It's a design that's been with us for decades, simple, bold, and patriotic, but behind that everyday appearance lies a fascinating story, and for a very small number of these coins, an astonishing value. Let's dive into a little background. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced Washington quarters at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, the Denver coins have a small d, and the San Francisco coins, intended mostly for proof sets, carry an S. These quarters were made from a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver, which makes them common on the surface. Here's where things get interesting. Unlike bicentennial coins or commemorative editions, 1973 quarters didn't get much attention from collectors at the time. They were produced in high numbers and were immediately tossed into circulation. That means most of them have scratches, dings, discoloration, and wear from decades of daily use, but a few, just a few, were preserved. Either pulled aside by chance, forgotten in a drawer, or stored unknowingly in pristine condition, these quarters never entered circulation. These untouched coins, especially those graded as mint state 67 or higher, are incredibly rare today. And then, there are the errors. That's right, some 1973 quarters were struck with rare minting mistakes. These include double die obverse, where parts of the design appear doubled, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even quarters accidentally struck on the wrong metal, like the blanks used for nickels or foreign coins. These types of mistakes are extremely desirable in the numismatic world because they're unique. No two are exactly alike. Collectors love a story, and a rare error coin tells one with every flaw, every misplaced line, every accidental detail. Combine that with a high-grade, uncirculated coin from 1973, and you've got a piece of American history that's more than just collectible. It's valuable, but how valuable? Let's imagine you're sorting through an old box of coins. Maybe it's from a garage sale, a relative's attic, or even your own childhood savings. You spot a 1973 Washington quarter that just looks different. It's sharper, brighter. Maybe it has an odd detail that doesn't quite match the others. You get it checked by a professional. It's an error coin, and it's in near-perfect condition. What happens next? Auction houses go wild. Collectors from around the world start placing bids, hoping to add a rare 1973 gem to their collections. The final hammer comes down, and you walk away with something that no vending machine or parking meter could ever offer, because that single 1973 Washington quarter dollar sold for $71,000. Yes, you heard that right. $71,000, not bad for something you could have picked up as spare change, right? So, the next time you see a Washington quarter from 1973, take a closer look. Don't just glance at the year and toss it aside. Examine the details. Check the condition. Look for something unusual. Because it just might be your lucky coin, one that holds a secret value far greater than 25 cents. Today, we're unlocking the story of a coin that's been sitting quietly in pockets and piggy banks for decades, a coin that might look like just another quarter, but under the right circumstances, could be worth an incredible amount of money. Yes, we're talking about the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1982. Now, don't be fooled by its plain appearance. It's not silver. It's not commemorative. It doesn't have any fancy coloring or holograms. But this little piece of metal holds a secret that most people overlook, until they discover its true worth. Let's dive into the world of the 1982 quarter. By 1982, the Washington quarter had already been around for half a century. It first appeared in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday and quickly became a permanent part of American currency. The design stayed pretty consistent, Washington on the front, an eagle on the back. But something unusual happened in 1982 that changed everything for collectors. That year, the U.S. Mint made a major decision. They stopped producing uncirculated mint sets for the public. Why is that such a big deal? Because most of the pristine coins collectors rely on come from those sets. With no mint sets made in 1982, the only quarters available to the public were those released into everyday circulation. That means most 1982 quarters got beat up, scratched, and worn down fast. You'd be lucky to find one that hasn't been through decades of pockets, wallets, and coin jars. So if you happen to find a 1982 quarter in near perfect, uncirculated condition, you're looking at something very rare. But that's not the only reason this coin is special. The 1982 Washington quarter has a few different versions. Coins were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of the valuable ones come from Philly and Denver. There's also a unique twist. In 1982, the Mint produced some coins with weaker strikes, especially from the Philadelphia Mint. The details on these coins can appear faint or missing. Combine that with the fact that they weren't preserved in mint sets, and you've got a recipe for scarcity, and collectors love scarcity. But here's where things get even more exciting. Some 1982 quarters come with minting errors, and not just tiny ones. We're talking about coins struck on the wrong planchet, double die obverse errors, and off-center strikes. These mistakes happened during production, and very few of them made it out into circulation. But the ones that did? They're like hitting the collector's jackpot. Now imagine this: you're going through a jar of coins, maybe at home, at a garage sale, or maybe you're handed some change after a coffee run. You spot a quarter from 1982. You take a closer look, and something about it seems different. The edges are sharp. The design is crisp. Or maybe the lettering looks slightly off. You feel like you found something special. You send it in to be professionally graded. It comes back with a high mint state grade, MS66 or higher, and maybe even a rare error. Suddenly, that little quarter is no longer just pocket change. It becomes the star of an auction. Collectors from around the country bid competitively for it. And when the gavel finally drops, that 1982 Washington quarter, just 25 cents at face value, sells for $64,000. That's right. $64,000, for a coin you could have overlooked in your change trade. So the next time you see a 1982 quarter, don't brush it off. Flip it over, check the details, examine the condition. Because the next big coin find might already be in your hand, hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to take a deep look into a coin you've probably held dozens of times without ever knowing its true potential, the 1986 United States Washington quarter dollar. Now, most people would look at a quarter from 1986 and think, what could possibly be special about this? It's not silver, it's not old enough to be antique, and it doesn't have any flashy commemorative design. But what if I told you that under the right conditions, that very quarter could be worth thousands, and in some cases, even more? Let's explore why. The Washington quarter has been a part of American currency since 1932, honoring the nation's first president. The design stayed mostly consistent for decades, Washington's profile on the front, and a fierce bald eagle on the back, wings spread, perched on arrows with olive branches beneath. It's classic, iconic, and instantly recognizable. In 1986, the Mint produced millions of these quarters at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia versions have no mint mark, while the Denver ones are marked with a small D to the right of Washington's ponytail. These coins were meant for circulation, not for collectors. They were made for everyday use, to be spent, passed, and forgotten, but sometimes, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Let me explain. The vast majority of 1986 quarters were heavily circulated. That means they've been through vending machines, cash registers, car washes, you name it. Most of them show signs of wear, scratches, and fading details. But a select few somehow avoided all that. Some were stashed away in drawers, coin rolls, or collections, and stayed in perfect or near-perfect condition. That's where things get interesting. If you find a 1986 quarter that's never been used, a coin that's still crisp, with sharp details and a clean surface, it's considered uncirculated. These coins are rare. But the real treasures? Those are the 1986 quarters that are not only uncirculated, but also contain a minting error. Now, mint errors come in many forms. You've got off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal. These kinds of errors turn an already rare coin into something truly one of a kind. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness equals value. Even small imperfections that occurred during minting, if they're rare enough, can turn a regular quarter into something collectors will fight over at auction. Let's say you happen to come across a 1986 quarter that looks just a little different. Maybe the edges are slightly off. Maybe there's doubling in the lettering. Or maybe it just looks unusually sharp and flawless. You send it off to be graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, and it comes back rated as MS 67 or higher, with a verified minting error. What happens next might blow your mind. Auction houses and private collectors love these kinds of coins. They're not just buying metal, they're buying rarity, history, and bragging rights. And when they see a coin that combines condition and error, the bidding starts, and doesn't stop. One such 1986 Washington quarter, in pristine, uncirculated condition, combined with a rare error, crossed the auction block. It wasn't hyped up. It didn't make headlines. But when the final bid came in, the owner walked away with something far greater than 25 cents. That single quarter sold for $62,000. Yes. You heard that right. $62,000, for a coin that anyone might have in their pocket right now. So the next time you get a handful of change, don't ignore the quarters. Take a second. Check the year. Look at the condition. Because hidden in plain sight, there just might be a 1986 Washington quarter that could change your life. Today, we've got something exciting to uncover, a common coin with an uncommon story. Let's talk about a coin you've probably seen dozens of times. Maybe you've had one in your hand without ever realizing what it could really be worth. Today's star is none other than the 1979 United States Washington quarter dollar. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked closely at a 1979 quarter? Not just glanced at it, but really looked? If you're like most people, you've probably spent or ignored hundreds of them over the years. But here's the truth, some of these coins are far more than just 25 cents. In the right condition, and under the right circumstances, they can be worth thousands, yes, thousands, of dollars. Let's dive into what makes this year so special. The 1979 quarter still features the classic design that Americans had seen since 1932, the profile of George Washington on the front, and the majestic eagle on the reverse, wings spread and perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. It was business as usual, or so it seemed, but here's where things get interesting. In 1979, quarters were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, mint mark; and San Francisco, S, mint mark. The coins from San Francisco were mostly proof coins, meaning they were made with extra care and sold to collectors. But the real magic lies in the regular circulation coins, the ones made in Philly and Denver, especially when it comes to their condition and possible minting errors. Let's break it down. By the late 70s, coin collecting wasn't quite as popular as it had been in earlier decades, and most 1979 quarters went straight into circulation. That means they were used in parking meters, soda machines, and everyday transactions for years, picking up scratches, dings, and wear along the way. So today, finding a 1979 quarter in flawless, uncirculated condition is extremely rare, but condition is just one part of the puzzle. There's another thing that gets collectors really excited: mint errors. And guess what? The 1979 quarter has its share of those. There have been reports of off-center strikes, double dies, missing letters, and even coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong metal blanks. These errors are like golden tickets. They're unintentional, unique, and incredibly valuable in the right hands. Each error tells a story, of a moment when the mint machine slipped, and history got a little more interesting. Now imagine this: you're going through a box of old coins, maybe from a yard sale, a family collection, or even just your own childhood stash. You spot a 1979 quarter that seems different. The edges are crisp. The details on Washington's face are sharp. And there's something unusual about the lettering or alignment. You get curious. You send it off for professional grading, and it comes back certified as a high-grade, mint error coin. At that point, your quarter is no longer worth just 25 cents. It's no longer just a cool piece of history. It becomes a collector's dream: rare, beautiful, and valuable. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. One such 1979 Washington quarter, preserved in immaculate condition with a verified minting error, was recently sold at a professional auction. And the final price? It wasn't hundreds. It wasn't even a few thousand. That single quarter sold for $72,500. Yes, you heard me right. $72,500, all from a coin you might have tossed into a parking meter or left forgotten in a drawer. So before you spend that next quarter, stop and take a closer look, especially if it's from 1979. You might just be holding a small fortune in your hand. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another coin that could change your life. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.